I'd like to reconvene this open session at 7:06 p.m. and let the record show that all board members are present. Could you please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? Ready, begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Report of action taken in closed session. We did take some action. In regard to the recommendation for closed session item 2.7 in accordance with Education Code Section 48918, the Glendora Unified School District Board of Trustees in closed session has unanimously approved the stipulated expulsion agreement for student 190706308. And could I please have an adoption of the agenda?
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Mrs. Reuter and seconded by Dr. Fernando. Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Aye. Those opposed? 5-0. I would like to welcome everyone on this chilly night. Hopefully it's comfortable in the auditorium if there are people over there. And just like to say thanks for coming out. I know my life is crazy busy right now, so I'm sure yours are all hectic as well. So thank you for being here. Well, first on the agenda tonight is the reorganization of the offices that you see in front of you. So I have a script to read about that. We will now conduct the election of officers for the Glendora Unified School District Board of Education for the ensuing year, beginning tonight, December 13th, 2021, through the organization meeting in December of 2022. Nominations for the office of board president are now open. Are there any nominations?
I nominate Robin Markley.
Second. Oh, third, whatever.
There is a nomination on the floor for Robin Merkley for the office of president. Are there any other nominations? Hearing none, all those in favor of electing Robin Merkley for the office of president for the ensuing term say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye. You have unanimously elected Robin Merkley for the office of president of the Glendora Unified School District Board of Education for the ensuing year. And now we're going to play a little musical chairs. So I'm going to leave this. You just stay this way. There you go. Just rest your teaching chairs. Here,
Every once in a while.
I have a great idea.
But my feet touch the floor. Oh, sorry. Okay, well now we need to continue on. Sorry. Okay, nomination, Vice President. Please get, sure. Thank you. Closer. Thank you. Give me all ready. Nominations for the offices of Vice President of the Board are now opened. Are there any nominations?
Nominate Elizabeth Reuter. Second.
There's a nomination on the floor for Elizabeth Reuter for the office of Vice President. Are there any other nominations? Hearing none, all those in favor of electing Elizabeth Reuter for the office of Vice President for the ensuing year say aye. Aye. All opposed? We have unanimously elected Elizabeth Reuter as Vice President of the Glendora Unified School District Board of Education for the ensuing year. clerk. Nominations for the office of board clerk are now opened. Are there any nominations?
I nominate Dr. Fernando.
Second.
Okay, there's a nomination on the floor for Dr. Fernando for the office of clerk. Are there any other nominations? Hearing none, all those in favor of electing Dr. Fernando for the office of clerk for the ensuing year say aye. Aye. All opposed? We have unanimously elected Dr. Rickshawn Fernando as clerk of the Glendora Unified School District Board of Education for the ensuing year. Secretary to the Board of Education. May I have a motion to appoint Dr. Penelope De Leon to serve as secretary to the Board of Education for the ensuing year?
So moved.
Second.
Are there any, no, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, so Dr. De Leon is our secretary. Thank you very much.
You're most welcome.
Okay. Let's see. Clerk.
And then we have
Okay, let's see.
the representative.
Okay,
Representative to,
the 7.6. Select a representative to the Los Angeles County Committee on School District Organization.
Who was this?
That was me.
That was you?
Yep.
According to the agenda item,
Or was it somebody else?
it says Reuter.
Where does it say Reuter?
Well, maybe I was on a different.
Okay. So, who wants to do this one?
any nominees?
Oh, any nominees? That we usually just,
Recommendations?
any recommendations, any volunteers?
I'll volunteer.
All right.
Okay. We don't have to vote on this, right?
I don't think we
I think we've always just kind of volunteered and assigned. Okay. All right. Ms. Borg is the representative to the LA County Committee of School District Organization. Thank you, Ms. Borg. Okay, designation of board representative to the LA County School Trustees Association.
you did it last
This
year.
was me. Yeah, this.
That was you. Do you want to do it again?
Sure.
Okay, great.
Yay.
Yeah,
You guys are easy.
I'm writing this down.
Yeah, we're writing it down. You're not getting out of it now.
No. 7.8, selection of Board of Trustees Committee assignments for 2022. Okay, if we look down here, we select representatives. For the Education Foundation, I did it last year, and I heard that someone else wanted to do it.
I said I would.
You want to
You
do
want to?
Do you want, no.
I do want to do it, but
Okay,
I'm not
no,
going
no,
to do
no,
it.
you take it and I'll do PTA.
Okay.
Okay.
Is the foundation one board meeting night a month? Okay. Sounds great.
Okay. Okay.
And by the way, I did enjoy my time. You can still call me if you need help, if I can do anything. Okay, PTA Council, then Ms. Borg will do that. Okay, Coordinated School Health Committee, Mrs. Reuter did that. Any volunteers on this side? I'll do it. It's not a big deal.
Nothing happened last year, I think probably because of COVID.
Yeah, but Mr. Osborne has already had at least one meeting, two meetings, so quarterly. Are you still feeding people for lunch?
We can't right now.
Aw, man. Okay, I'll still do it.
It's chicken, you know that.
No, it's lots of,
No, I mean chicken for lunch.
no, we had other good stuff, sandwiches. Anyway, okay, Chamber of Commerce Ledge Action. It was Mrs. Reuter.
I love it, but I think somebody should have, you really do learn a lot about legislation that's affecting Glendora. I really have enjoyed it, but I think I've done it for 3 years now, so if somebody else would like a turn, it's the first Thursday of the month at noon.
And I'm just saying, we're kind of running out of things here.
It's really interesting.
It is really interesting.
It is interesting. You get to hear all of the upcoming legislation, not just related to education,
Yeah.
but everything related to the city, the
Okay,
county, the
somebody's
state.
not going to have it. Oh, okay, you're like,
But I'm
coordinate,
done.
yeah.
That's it.
Glendora Community.
Are you going to do it? Oh, that's great.
Yeah, Glendora Community Coordinating Council. I've been doing it for years, but I'm on that council anyway, so I will continue doing that. Okay. Oh man, who's not going to do LCAP Stakeholder Committee?
I'll do that one.
Well, these boys have not done any, these men, excuse me.
They're shaking their head no. All right, I'll do it.
Okay, fine.
This boy was willing to, but
No, you do it.
Will do
Dr.
it?
Fernando, sir.
happy to do it.
Okay.
Okay. I'm sorry.
It's Rukshan.
Interruption.
Yeah.
Yeah, Rukshan. Okay.
Tug of war with LCAP, you never thought, huh?
Okay.
That's
I
good
think-
work. It's
I
good
think
work.
Mr. Ellison kind of,
I have done all
Again.
of them in the past, so
but okay, you did
He
one
has a
thing.
newborn.
I've been on every one of them so
He
far.
has a newborn.
Okay,
You know how
good.
that
I'm
is.
glad you've done that. So,
I am continuing to be the ROT rep, so
Yes.
oh, that's a big one.
that's a 2-year term, so I'm 1 year into that, and I'll finish this one.
Okay, all right. Thank you for doing that. Okay. Let's go on to our board meeting calendar for the 2022 governing board year. So we want to adopt the calendar for 2022.
So moved.
Thank you.
Second.
Do I need to read this background information? Are we good? Okay. Are there any questions or comments? Okay, all in favor say aye. Aye. Okay, motion passed. Okay, now then, we come to the annual certification of authorized signature resolution number 21/22-06. Annually, the district is required to provide a certification of signatures to the Los Angeles County Office of Education. We have traditionally prepared the certification at the annual board reorganization meeting in December each year. No financial implications, we just need a vote on this.
Yep.
So moved.
Second.
Are there any questions or comments? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay. Whew, I think we're done with that. Now, student board member report.
That includes the,
Did I
I
s-
think you
what-
got a gavel out.
Oh, man, excuse me. I usually like doing the gavel. Okay, I think we are done with the organization portion.
So there's no confusion.
Oh,
Oh, man.
I'm not vice president either.
I know. You're right.
Yes, switch
So
that.
swap them again.
Okay, now then, student board member report, Nadia.
Good evening, Dr.
Oopsie. And Nadia has finals tonight, so we told her we'd let her go because nothing is more important than those academics. You just, oh, I love your skirt.
Oh, thank you.
Just the best thing ever.
Yep.
Thank you. Good evening, Dr. DeLeon and esteemed members of the school board. Tonight I will be giving a student board report on the behalf of Glendora High School. So last Wednesday, students of the semester were awarded with a free Raising Cane's lunch that was sponsored by ASB, and teachers had the opportunity to nominate up to 4 students of the semester. And that night we had our annual Cocoa and Creme event where students had the opportunity to come into the event center with friends to study for finals or any tests they had coming up, and we had teachers on standby who volunteered to help out. And also this year, because of the pandemic, we had free cookies and a hot cocoa and games outside for students to hang out as well. And finals will take place tomorrow through Friday. Regarding arts and athletics, orchestra had their concert on December 9th in the event center, and they did an amazing job. GHS show choirs had their annual Sounds of Noel concert on December 3rd at Glenkirk Church, and they performed for the PTA at their party on December 6th. GHS Band and Pageantry did an amazing job performing at the parade this past Saturday. And boys basketball beat Diamond Bar and took home the championship from the San Dimas tournament. And thank you, that was it.
Thank you.
Good luck.
Good luck, Nadia.
Go get them.
Okay.
Thank you, Nadia.
Now it is time for our board recognition. So, Dr. DeLeon, do I turn the time over to you for this?
All right.
Dorothy is going to be going through the details for everyone, but I wanted to thank all of our friends at the district office, all of our principal friends in all the various schools. This was a record year for us, and we appreciate all of your help, but most importantly, parents in the community. It was a successful year, given uncharted territory that we continue to work through. But thank you very much. So, Prithvi.
Hi, everyone. I just wanted to add to what...
Excuse me, would you introduce everyone, please?
Sure.
Thank you.
Mike Beckman, Cameron Dale, Aaron Ralph, and Margot Gibson. They're all our board members, and we have more, but they couldn't make it. Oh, I'm Preeti Patel. Anyway, I just wanted to tag along to what Mike had said. This year was our record year, and we can't do it without our community, the principals, the teachers, the students. I mean, everybody really rallies around this campaign, and that's what makes it so successful. We were able to raise funds for various items for each school, and they were all items that they requested, that the students, the administrators, the teachers, the students, the principals, all wanted for their schools. So items such as PE equipment, science kits for our elementary schools, playground equipment, PA system. I mean, the list goes on. So again, we can't do it without the community. We can't do it without the parents. So thank you all for supporting this campaign as well. I do want to say that we raised $64,000, and then with our match, over $64,000, and then with our match, we came to a final $128,906. So. Thank you. And again, we not only could we not do it with our parents, but our generous donor who matches dollar for dollar, we can't do it without them either. So thank you again.
Did anybody want to say anything?
They're leaving.
Yeah, they're bye. We really do appreciate everything that they do. It's just amazing that. I remember the first year when it wasn't GEF. I can't remember what it's called. SOS. They've been through so many. That was they've been through so many. But I just remember the first year the goal was to raise $26,000. Because my suggestion was, let's have a marathon and raise 26.2. Run from, anyway, I was running marathons in those days. Okay, I'll just move right along. Staff presentation and information, MOU with the City of Glendora and Glendora Unified School District for facility use. Did I skip anything?
No, more on.
Okay.
So our wonderful assistant superintendent with our amazing
These are my sidekicks. They've been just so wonderful to work with on working on our MOU and reestablishing a beginning step, right? So we could bring more youth sports back into our facilities. And so our first step this evening is to be able to open up for basketball in particular, and also to ensure that we have a great joint agreement that's been working with the city to ensure that we've got the support systems necessary to be able to open up our doors on weekends and in the evenings. And I just really want to commend and thank them so much for all their hard work that they put into helping me work on this particular MOU. And then with that, we will have another MOU, hopefully in the future, that we'll be bringing back to you. That will be a much larger MOU that talks about a lot more collaboration and new items as we continue to work together in partnership.
Good evening, everyone. Appreciate you having us here tonight. Tracy's been great to work with. I think through the COVID pandemic, as we got used to coming back to normal and having youth sports, whether it was Glendora youth soccer and use of restrooms or indoor facilities for basketball and all of our events, we realized that our existing agreements with the school district weren't going to cover all of the requirements. And so we're really appreciative the school district came to work with the city and allowed for an opportunity to get kids back in playing basketball indoors. I know my two kids are excited to start, so parent of a 5th grader and 2nd grader, so they're very much excited to be here. So we look forward to the larger MOU. We have great relationships. We have school resource officers and crossing guards and library services and joint facilities agreements that date back to the 80s. So very much looking forward, and if we could answer any questions. And Moises Lopez, introduce yourself, tell us a little bit about you for everyone. And he's really the one that did all the hard work on this.
Good evening, board members. My name is Moises Lopez. I'm the Assistant City Manager. I've had the pleasure of working with Tracy on this particular assignment. Tracy and I actually it's a very small world. I previously worked in the city of Riverside, where Tracy has also played a very big role in that educational community, and so we've had opportunities in our past to cross paths. So it's excellent opportunity for us to continue building on that relationship and bringing that fruit of our labor here to Glendora and to the community.
This evening is that MOU for you to be able to adopt tonight and sign off on. So we're very excited. It's always nice to know that I've got partners I can just call up and phone a friend. So thank you.
Yes.
I would just like to add my thanks as well, because personally, I've been waiting for this for a couple of years, and I'm so glad to see it get done and come to fruition, and the plans for the future, great. I mean, just my own personal experience, my children, my grandchildren all played youth sports here in Glendora, and we played on the sites. I left my kids stranded here one night, hiding under the concrete steps out there at soccer practice. So honestly, appreciate it so much, and it's such a great thing for kids, and they actually are all of our kids. It's not a separate group of kids that use this. They're the same kids that come to school here too. So thank you. It's real important.
Mrs. Reuter?
I do want to thank all three of you standing up here this evening. I also want to thank our city council colleagues for their support on the other side here. I think we all completely agreed that the city and the school district are strongest together, working together through these processes and procedures, and just having everything laid out clearly and spelled out. There's been a long relationship, and it's all worked out very well, but sometimes there's confusion, which is reasonable. So to revisit these relationships and processes is just good business all the way around, and can answer questions can be answered a lot quickly. A lot more quickly if everything is formalized in writing. So thank you all for your efforts. I know it's been a little bit of a process given COVID and all the restrictions and all that happened. And I, like Ms. Borg, look forward to all the future MOUs that can come together where we can continue to really work together and collaborate strongly for the whole community. Thank you both very much, all three of you. Thank you.
Dr. Fernando, did you want to say anything? Mr. Ellenson?
I remember starting this process a while ago in your office. Like some of my colleagues have said, both organizations have worked well together all of these years, but it's nice to have things formalized into documents that both parties formalizing and memorializing all of that.
And I add my thanks too. I'm assuming we need a vote. May I please have a vote?
On the next item, yes.
On this MOU?
Motion to approve and
Yeah, to approve this MOU between the Glendora Unified School District and the City of Glendora for the joint use agreement that supports the city-run youth leagues with access to GUSD identified elementary fields, middle school gyms, and designated classrooms.
So moved.
Second.
Okay. Motion by Ms. Ward, seconded by Dr. Fernando. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, motion passed unanimously. Thank you so much. We appreciate it.
Have the signature file for this. For the signature for the
So
city
that they
manager's
can sign
final
it.
fund.
Yeah, I'll be more than happy to bring it back.
All right, thank you.
Okay.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Thank
all
you.
three of you, for all of your hard work on this. We really appreciate it. And the kids of Glendora appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Okay, next we have staff presentation information, and we have a presentation by Tracy Vacker and Devin Bratton.
Well, before you this evening is a new element that we're bringing to you to introduce to you, Paper Education Company, and I'm excited to be able to co-present with Devin here this evening, who represents Paper Education. And Paper Education is a 24/7 tutorial chat homework service for our students that will be offered in grades kindergarten through 8th grade. So we'll provide them with a service that they'll be able to access to be able to ask questions about their homework assignment, for any type of subject matter that they have. It is also offered in multiple languages. And before us this evening is our representative, Devin. And so she's going to actually kind of walk you through this quick presentation to be able to show you some highlights. And with it we'll also have training for our parents that will be online and for our school community as well.
Thank you very much, Tracy. Dr. DeLeon, Madam President, members of the board, and the Glendora community, thank you for having me tonight. My name is Devin Bratton, and it's my privilege to be representing the Paper Education Company. Thank you for the opportunity to speak to you about our partnership with your learning community to provide unlimited extra academic support for your students in grades K through 8. Next slide, please. At Paper, we have a mission. Our founder and CEO saw inequities in the classroom as a classroom teacher, and through Paper, we strive to deliver on that mission with the goal of leveling the playing field for all students when it comes to tutoring. Next slide. Let's watch this video together to find out more. And we'll watch the ad first. In Valverde, just past Riverside, they're a long-term partner with us, and Superintendent McCormick had this to say: enabling all students to have access to tutoring extends our ability to ensure more equitable access to learning no matter the place or time of day. I know that's what we're all here tonight to ensure, that all students have access to quality education. Next slide. So what is the paper experience? We're a digital platform that delivers unlimited on-demand tutoring in multiple languages, as Tracy said. It's asynchronous writing help, it's device agnostic, and we are a true partnership. All student activities are visible to you and your teachers and administrators. Hello, okay, good. Next slide, please. Our digital platform is delivered safely and securely through your existing technology infrastructure. It's easily accessed through single sign-on. Laptops, tablets, smartphones, all work. Students can get help whenever and wherever they need it. Next slide. Live help means that any of your K-8 students can access a tutor within seconds by just clicking a button. Anytime, day or night, weekday, weekend, and holidays, a student can get help with homework, an exam or assessment prep, or any academic question. They can type, draw, upload, or screenshot an assignment, and through the Socratic method, a paper tutor will determine what the student knows and how to help them step by step towards what we would like to call learning wins. Next slide. Any written work can also be uploaded by a student, and within 24 hours, they will receive an annotated copy back that includes areas of improvement, suggestions for changes, as well as recognition of what the student is doing well with their writing. Next slide. Just who will be helping Glendora students? Our paper employees. They are not freelancers, which is very important, as they must pass federal background checks before being hired. Our tutors are from top North American universities. They're recruited, vetted, trained, certified, and managed internally by our company. And our company is here to support you and your students. Next slide. Now that you know what paper is and how it works, there are steps towards making unlimited academic support a reality. Our initial journey together and the paper team members responsible for each phase are outlined here. Next slide. After the technical setup and integration, we'll help you plan the communication and rollout of paper to your community for a successful launch. There will be admin and teacher trainings, marketing through all of your communication channels. Parent webinars and classroom activities will be used to drive awareness and student engagement. We'll have check-ins to continue throughout the year to make sure that Glendora Unified is getting the most out of paper and your learning community enjoys all the benefits that come with providing unlimited round-the-clock academic support for your kids. Next slide. Paper would be proud to be a Glendora Unified partner. Thank you for your time tonight.
Thank you very much. Do we have any questions? Starting Mrs. Reuter.
Is this a one-year contract that we're entering into?
So it's actually be a multiple year contract. It's actually a 2-year contract, but the first 6 months, January 1st through June 30th as we work on the launch. There's actually no charge back to Glendora Unified School District. After that, there's a 2-year contract. It's being paid through with the ESSER funds that we're using to be able to help support our students, especially with some of the learning loss that's taking place due to the pandemic, and to make sure they have those additional resources at the K-8 level.
So do I understand you that this is not going to be available for students this academic year?
It will be available this academic year. So we will be doing a launch and phasing it in with our middle schools and elementaries.
Okay, and are there any sort of online tutoring services that we're offering to our K-8 students at this time?
The library.
No. I don't think so. I just am clarifying this for everybody.
there are some other support systems that are offered at our schools.
Sure.
With one-on-one teachers, some other kinds of services that come on board, but not one like this that actually offers it after hours. It's kind of
Actually, the library does. And there are.
I think that's for older kids.
Public library.
Yeah, the Glendora Public Library does. So I think they have some for younger kids too.
Okay.
Pretty sure.
Okay, that's all more
not
more
24/7.
right. And then talk to me a little bit about the teacher training component of this resource, please.
Happy to. Would you like to go ahead and jump in? Follow you back up.
So for Teacher PD, we have 3 options. We can do a live webinar with your teachers in one of their staff meetings. We also offer something called Paper Trail, which is an asynchronous 12 5-minute modules over an hour that they can be certified as paper tutor or paper teachers. And then we also have something that's called, now I'm blanking, we have webinars actually that are regularly scheduled that teachers can actually sign online anytime they want and get that help.
The other piece that teachers will receive is they'll actually receive information back on what the student chat was. So they'll be able to actually go into a portal, be able to see that information, be able to help inform their instruction if they so choose. There really isn't much on the teacher's end other than the teacher could possibly do some assignments and make sure that paper education is also aware of some assignments that are going out. For example, if they go off and give out an essay assignment, they may very well want to be able to put that up in a portal and they actually have some ability to be able to do that. And so those will be some services that we'll be offering to our teachers so that the first draft is actually done by paper education, taking that pressure off of our teachers, and they can really dig in deeper for the second and third final reports that would be done on paper.
Hey, Ms. Morton.
I have a question. I see here in your slide that when you're talking about other languages, it's English, Spanish, and French. What other languages are possible? Because we have, about 25 in this district, 25 different languages.
Thank you for your question. So those languages that you see there, in addition to Mandarin, are our service languages. We also have across the board multilingual tutors, and there are so many languages spoken by our tutors. We just don't guarantee those 24/7.
Thank you.
There may be some specific hours if we need to be able to work with a student or their families to determine the hours that service would be available to them, but that's possible.
Dr. Fernando, do you have any questions? Mr. Ellenson?
My question would be, this is fantastic. Thank you for partnering with us and bringing this to us, Mrs. Becker.
Okay.
My pleasure.
Mrs. Becker, I just want to really quickly explain what ESSER funds are for our listening audience.
Sure.
please.
So we received ESSER funds from the federal government, which allows for us to provide additional services to our students and our families here in the school district in order to be able to help with some of the learning loss being mitigated by the COVID pandemic. And so those funds have been earmarked, and they're specifically meant to be able to help support our students, our teachers, our families, our educators right here in our district with those additional services that are above and beyond.
Okay, and I did have one question, because I noticed that it costs $38 per student, and we can add in students as they move in. But as they move out, do we take it away? And I can't think of the right word what that is.
Yeah, so it's per student user account that we're charged that dollar amount for the year, and that would be the annual dollar amount that we would have for each student. So if they move out, it doesn't get prorated, if that's what you're asking.
Prorated, that's the word I was searching for. But so if they move in late in the year, it's not prorated either, it's still the same amount, or do they switch places?
They would switch places.
Okay, that's a good answer.
That's a good answer, thank you very much. Okay, thank you, appreciate that.
Thank you.
Okay, so that's just an information thing. Okay.
I'd just like to thank Devin and the entire paper education team for taking the time to work with our district. We know this has been a very busy year for them with services, and so it was really exciting that they were willing to work with Glendora Unified School District to be able to provide this amazing service to our students. So,
Thank you. It does sound amazing. So thank you, Devin. Okay. Okay, statement of board president. Do I read this part right there? Committee conduct?
Take action on that.
Oh, take action. No, this is information.
Later? Okay.
Yeah, it said information. I didn't. Okay, thank you. Okay, I don't need to read it. Oh, my statement is, I'm kind of excited to be the president. Okay.
That's great.
Yeah. Okay, kind of.
God bless you.
Thank you. Okay, it is now time for public comments. I have several cards. Oh, only like 3. Speakers may address the Board of Education on non-agenda and agenda items. Board policy requires that public presentations to the board comply with the procedures on the agenda. So I'd like to remind you that they are 3 minutes. There's a clock over there, and we'll be going. So the first one is Anne Marie Loy, and then the next one will be Wendy Jarvie.
Anne Marie had to leave.
Okay, so, and after Wendy, we have Nicholas Lacey.
Good evening. My name is Wendy Jarvie. I wanted to talk about a sort of disconnect that I see happening between the community, the board, and the district. So last month, Trustee Reuter, you proposed having a study session on critical race theory because it was such a concern amongst the community. And last Monday, we had a study session, but it wasn't critical race theory, it was ethnic studies. And the proposal that you made last month made it sound like you were opening it up to a Q&A, a town hall, something that was a two-way dialogue. This was nothing like what we expected. It was more like another board meeting where we give public comments at the beginning and then listen to a presentation. And the stated objective in the presentation was to inform the board on ethnic studies due to the AB 101 requirements. So it didn't serve the purpose of what you proposed at all. And I think that's a real disservice because it just further separates the community from the board. We thought we were going to have a good faith discussion, and that didn't happen. And at the end, Trustee Fernando said that he encouraged everyone to read the model curriculum. And I wouldn't have been coming here speaking since the summer if I hadn't read it and saw all of the things that were in it. And I'm really concerned that the principles and the study materials of CRT are going to be in ethnic studies. And last month, Trustee Merkley, you said that the board should split it up and read it. I'm wondering if you've done that and you see what I see that is so concerning. And one particular bone that I have to pick is that you said, no matter what you say, ethnic studies is not CRT. And I think that's sort of a theme throughout the whole year. It's no matter what you say. No matter what you say, public, it doesn't matter because you're going to believe what you want to believe. So I encourage you all to read the model curriculum. And again, I would ask that we have a public forum. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Jarvie. Okay, Nicholas Lacey.
It is said that things are more memorable when they involve rhythm and rhyme, and so here is a poem written in the hopes that the message will stick this time. 'Twas the week before Christmas, and the board meets one last time before the year ends to discuss current issues, updates, and hear from its citizens. In the plethora of opinions, you have heard many, but when it comes to actual actions as a response, that list remains empty. To your credit, it was a success when the schools were declared open, but when it comes to representing the values of this city, you have left us still hoping. Let us be clear that nobody wishes any of you any ill will, but when our kids and loved ones are at risk, our passion and resolve you will feel. It is important to note that we are grateful for your time. These are difficult days, and of that nobody will deny. But the responses of this board have been askew, so allow us to go over just a few. When we said the board has lost trust and that it must be earned, you said we will just keep doing what we're doing, believing the trust will eventually be returned. When we asked for you to proactively abolish any and all CRT, you said, what do you mean? Trust us. There's nothing here to see. When we said CRT deserves an in-depth, two-way conversation, you said, agreed, but instead, here's a 2.5-hour presentation. When we said, look, hundreds and the thousands have signed these petitions, you shrugged your shoulders and ignored such a strong, unified public opinion. When we pleaded with you to fight back and to stand for parents' choice, you said, here, take a number, make an appointment, but it won't be our voice. When we asked, will you take a vote, you said you will not. It would mean nothing and to simply move on the boat. When we provided you with examples of what other districts have courageously tried, you ignored them, rejected them, and then said, we're sorry, our hands are tied. When we asked for you to be courageous and to lead, you said, we'll just remain quiet here in these seats. All these things and more lead us to our current date when one must ask, is the board a servant to the people or a slave to the state? We, the people, have been watching and waiting. We have also taken note of what you have been publicly celebrating, whether it be a particular opinion, voice, or stat. The reality is that you're slowly revealing your values, and nobody can hide that. But we believe in giving another chance. So all that we ask is that you take a stance. Tell the people what you believe and how you intend to move. Do not defer or delay, but do what elected officials are supposed to do. Represent the people that are looking to each of you to ensure our kids are not experiments and the parents have a voice too. Do these things and all this will go away, and Glendora Unified will once again be unified like back in the day. But do it not, and continue to move the people from section to section, and we the people will take hope, we take courage, because there is a soon coming election. Thank you all very much.
Thank you, Mr. Lacy. Okay. Let's see.
Oral reports.
Oral reports. Comments from the members of the Board of Comments from the members of the Board of Education. I'm going to start with Mr. Ellenson this time.
No comments, thank you.
Dr. Fernando?
I just had a question as part of my comments. What's the difference between a board meeting and a special study? Board self-studies, right?
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Thank you for asking that. Thank you for your answer, Dr. DeLeon. Ms. Ward?
Thank you. Congratulations, Mrs. Merkley. I'm happy to move over a couple of chairs here. I am thrilled about the MOU with the city, and I've already said that. I also want to say that with some items that are going to be coming up here, I'm looking forward to the professional development that we'll be voting on later on about our site leadership getting some more training, advisory committees, planning to evaluate professional development for the teachers, to plan and evaluate that. All staff can be trained in school climate and behavior supports, positive school climate and behavior supports, and multi-tiered system of supports. I was able to attend the Teen Summit on Friday at the Crowther Teen Center. It was middle school, and it was just a joy to see these kids on a bus getting dropped off at the Teen Center. They had 2 breakouts, and they heard a keynote from Dr. Brummett talking about endurance and strength and the fortitude to, he actually used Elon Musk as an example and gave things I didn't know about him as a child and how he grew up and overcame a lot of adversity, and just his will to stick to something and his values and character were what kept him going. So that was, in fact, I ended up going home and looking up the book to give away for Christmas. So it was very inspiring to me too. And then the breakout sessions were all based on character and having the courage to stand up for what you believe and speak out. So I just, there must have been, Mr. Osborne, would you say 70 or 80 kids total?
60 students, 30 from each middle.
Okay. And they were, one school had applications for it, and then some people were selected, and the other school, I think they were all selected to attend. So it was, I thought it was a very productive morning there. I have to just talk a little bit about Mrs. Merkley. She is a woman of character. She exhibits all of these fine characteristics: trustworthiness, respect, responsibility, fairness, caring, and citizenship. Because I feel in a position of president of this board, character counts, and she has a fine character and will do a great job. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you. Yes.
May I add comments?
Yes, you may.
So I would be remiss if we didn't recognize Mrs. Borg on a very difficult year of service as board president. Think about where we were a year ago today, right? Think about January and the surge and having to postpone opening classrooms and everything that's happened since then. This is a very, we told Mrs. Reuter she had 2020 was a very difficult year to be president, and wow, you really came with a, I don't know, it's a toss-up between 2020 and 2021, but your leadership was always steadfast and reliable, and I certainly felt your leadership all year and felt that we were in good hands, that you were devoting so much time and energy to meeting with Dr. DeLeon and staff and the public and other members of the board. Thank you very much on behalf of all of us for doing that. It's very much appreciated and recognized how much energy and effort you put into that. And
thank you, Mr. Allen.
It went very well. I think you helped us get through it in a very positive way. So thank you for doing that. And Mrs. Merkley, of course, look forward to your year as president. I recall your presidency before, and I look forward to another very good year. I hope you have a better year than the 2 ladies sitting to your right. I hope 2022 is even better.
It's going to be good. It's going to be a good year. One of these days we will not be wearing masks.
That's right. And Mrs. Vacker, if I could just add one thing, may I request that you have someone look into the microphone situation here in the boardroom? Maybe someone from maintenance and operations and the lights. A little TLC here for 2022.
Happy to help you out.
Thank you very much.
Mrs. Reuter.
I don't think it's fair that Mr. Ellenson got to jump back in on comments and then took everything that I was going to say. My top bullet point is to thank Ms. Borg for her leadership over this last year. You turn on any news channel, any station, any whatever, and there's going to be a report about communities and school boards and how challenging the last year has been. So thank you for your consistent commitment to our students, putting them first every single time, taking meetings and taking some really hard meetings, taking some challenging meetings. It didn't always go 100% right 100% of the time, but we're humans and we figure things out as we go along. So thank you for that, and enjoy the sort of downshift as far as the amount of time is concerned, moving from the president role into a member position, because it is a lot. It's finals week at the midterm week at the high school, so I want to wish all of our high school kids good luck on their exams. For our freshmen and our sophomores, this is really the first time that they are experiencing this week and the pressure that comes along with it. And it's really something to behold when you've got two high schoolers at home and what this week feels like. So take a deep breath, finish strong, and good luck on your exams to all of our students. To all of our teachers and counselors, the teachers and the counselors, all of our staff, our principals, our administrators, all the support staff, all the aides, everybody, thank you for your hard work this semester. I've talked to a lot of teachers who have said that this year has been exponentially harder than last year was. Getting everybody back and trying to attend to all the needs of all the students is, I would say, overwhelming. So I really do want to take this time at this semester break to thank everybody for their hard work and do my best to insist that you all take a break. Really, you've got 2 weeks. Please take the 2 weeks to take a break. Try not to work during that time. I know how everybody is committed to our kids and will stay committed to our kids this way, but you all deserve time with your families and your loved ones during this break. So please do that. And everybody, happy holidays, and look forward to seeing you all in the new year.
I too am going to jump back in with just one thing. Just happy holidays, and I wish that you all find something, whatever brings you joy, and that you celebrate that.
I also want to thank Ms. Borg for your knowledge of school and curriculum, and everything has been an asset as president, and it has been very nice to work closely with you. Thank you for including me in the meetings and helping me prepare, and the nice things you said. The other thing is, I'd like to congratulate, I hope I say his last name right, Michael Kloster. He received the Youth Recognition Award from the Glendora Community Coordinating Council today, and he was really an amazing young man. And to thank Ms. Kloon for nominating him. It was exciting to see that. Yes, he is. I believe he's a senior, and he's been in leadership for 4 years, and he's really headed up the canned food drive. And last year he was really disappointed that he couldn't. And the coordinating council, we do holiday baskets, and this year we weren't able to do it because of COVID, or last year. But he got back to school and he just said, I really want to do this. And so he got everybody involved and got a lot of cans that were donated, I think mostly to Shepherd's Pantry, the canned food. So he's going to go to school, to college in Montana. Cool. Yeah, I'm impressed I remembered all that. But I, too, want to wish you Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays. It will be nice to take a break and to come back all renewed. Okay, now, take a breath. Turn the time over to Dr. DeLeon for our superintendent's report.
Thank you so much. There you go. Thank you so much, President Merkley. I'm really happy for you and proud of you. You did a great job as vice president, too. So both president and vice president come to my weekly meetings, and so I got to really get to know Trustee Merkley quite a bit during those meetings. But I really have to give a big heartfelt thank to Trustee Borg for the last year and her leadership, her calm, resilient, and kind with a capital K leadership of this district through some very challenging times, and sometimes kindness. We just don't have enough in this world. And you have demonstrated that every step of the way. You've taught me quite a bit. You're understanding, you're beloved. And I was really proud that you're my president. Just as I was so proud of Trustee Reuter, Robin, you have big shoes to fill. You really do. This board really has outstanding trustees, one and all. And I thank you for your leadership through all this. This has not been easy. It's been the greatest challenge of my life, and I'm sure many of you will think it's maybe the same for you. And I think it's that way for many people right now. This has not been an easy pandemic, although I'm not sure any of them are.
No.
We weren't here for the last one. We
Hopefully we'll not
don't have anything to compare it to. But I do thank you all so much. Let's see. I do want to say that we are committed as a district team and as a governance team to our community. And a lot of people sometimes question that because we've been through nothing but times of disparate opinions on various topics throughout the pandemic. I want you to know that we are committed to this community and listening to this community. And I'll tell you how we're doing that. And I want to clarify this for everyone. We're not done talking about ethnic studies or CRT. We're not done talking with our community about ethnic studies and CRT. We have convened and are in the process, I should say we are in the process of convening an ethnic studies community curriculum committee. Now I'm going to tell you how that's a demonstration of our commitment. It's a demonstration of our commitment because we have a very well-established state and Ed Code established policy for the adoption of curriculum and text in school districts. And it's something that we do often. It's a process that we are very accustomed to. And typically the way the process works is that we convene teams of teachers. And our teachers work on developing a course, to work on developing the key standards for the district, the units for the course, and then they select a text. And when that process is done, it is reviewed by the public. The community has the ability to make input at that point. We are committed, we are so committed, we are bringing our community committee to the table up front to give input throughout the process that will work parallel to our teacher groups and our student groups and our advisory groups, because we want consistent input throughout the entire process from our community. This is far but over. The conversation of ethnic studies and CRT is far but over because it will come up throughout the process and it will be discussed as a team and in our committees, and that information and input will be brought back. And I like to call it an accordion process. Our committees will work on it, and then they'll come and report back to the whole larger group, and then they go back to their committee. And that's the way the process is working. But to be clear, this is not typically what is done. This is not a normal process, but because it is so important for us, we've heard loud and clear the community wants to be part of it. We are bringing the community to the table from the beginning. And that's not, I will tell you, that is not typically how the process goes. Usually the community reviews after the fact. We want you to be part of it from the beginning. It starts with a study session that looks at what the law has asked us to do, and we will work from this point forward to bring the community along under the skilled leadership of Dr. Virginia Kelson and her team. But it is a collaborative process from day one, and it is a community process. That is what we are doing and what the board has asked us to do, because they are committed to the community. And it will be a long process. It will not be a short process. It's not like tomorrow we're just going to suddenly have a course and a curriculum that's adopted. It'll take time. It'll take years likely. There aren't even any texts available right now if we wanted them. So I want the community to rest assured that we hear you. We hear you, and we're bringing you to the table in a way that is unique and beyond anything that is typically done through this process. And so I just wanted to clarify that for the community and to let you all know that we do care, and we're bringing you to the table because we want this to be the right course and the right curriculum for the community of Glendora.
Dr. DeLeon?
Yes.
Since things get quoted back to us, I just want to make one thing clear. The community is part of the collaborative process.
Correct.
It's not that they're making, no one has the final decision. The whole committee will work together, and then the board actually, whoever's on the board at the time.
Adopts, does the final adoption.
But the community is part of the
They're part of it through the community curriculum committee.
I just wanted to make sure that was clear.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And I'd sort of like to add on top of that, that when it comes to the traditional adoption process, it's always that whatever the committee is, usually the teachers or whoever's been working on the adoption process, they bring it to the board for our approval. Mm-hmm. We don't have any part of the process that way. We are involved as far as maybe being updated along the way, which is something that I suggested that I would be interested in moving forward through the process over the next couple of years, but that it is literally the recommendation of the parent group at the top of all the committees coming together that brings it to the board, and we approve it. And I'd say historically, there have been always successful adoptions because the board has historically trusted the process, trusted the teachers, trusted the administrators, and trusted the people that have been involved with the process. And this has only been expanded in this process. So I just wanted to clarify that. The board has no role in the adoption of a curriculum other than to approve it. Do I understand that correctly?
You do not have a role in the development. You approve what is developed by our committees and our team and present it to you at some date later in the future when we have worked through this very extensive process.
Thank you.
However, though, the board's allowed to question when the curriculum is presented.
Of course, absolutely. And if the board does not agree or wants more information, is not ready to adopt at that point, they can send it back and ask the curriculum committees to do more work.
Okay.
And the teachers pilot it. They practice it.
They
don't
pilot it, yes.
Yeah,
there's a pilot.
so then they can tweak it and figure out what works and what doesn't work. So good. Thank you, Dr. DeLeon.
I have more.
Oh, you have more.
I have more on my report. That was just one thing. I just wanted to make sure that the community understands that this is their process as well. Okay. I want to congratulate all of our athletic teams and our performing arts programs who have been extremely successful recently in all of their tourneys and competitions. Phenomenal. That I will also connect to the fact that we will be beginning engaging in our middle school interscholastic athletic teams, which will be beginning after the break. Our middle school league, we really do have a middle school league, and they have decided to begin with basketball starting in the upcoming weeks. It's really hard to play if you don't have any teams to play, but now the teams have all decided to come together and we're playing, and so we're excited to announce that. And then one more thing. I want to thank the City of Glendora for all their hard work with Ms. Backer on that MOU. It's been a long time coming. We're really happy about that. I want to wish a very happy holidays to all of our staff, our students, our community. A holiday full of peace, love, rest, rejuvenation. And in the spirit of giving back, I would love it if Mr. Osborne would come up and let the community know about something fantastic that we are doing to give back to the community. Mr. Osborne, would you come up and make sure everybody in our community, especially in the holiday season where folks have a lot of need, that everybody knows about our Family Resource Center?
Yeah, good evening. Thank you, Dr. De Leon. Thank you, Board of Trustees. Two programs that are probably really, the community at large would be really interested in. First is this idea of a community resource center. It's currently located down at Williams Education Center, not but a half mile from here. And due to very generous partnerships that we've been able to create over the last several months, we were able to provide any student in need and family in need with school supplies, backpacks, through a partnership called Shoes That Fit. We could provide them with shoes. If there's a family that's in need of clothing, through our partnership with the Assistance League of Covina Valley, we could provide them with clothes. And if there's any family that's in need of food, we could refer them to organizations such as Shepherd's Pantry or the New Song Church Pantry, or a pantry called God's Pantry in Pomona, all great resources for food. In addition to that, if there's any community member or especially a child who is in need, I'd encourage the public to reach out to me, and I definitely would love to learn more about the needs and either help resource them through what we have already at our community center or seek some other community resources to help provide for their needs. The other unique program that I'd like to talk about is actually one of the special things about Glendora, and that's our sense of community. And just two weekends ago, on December 4th, up at Sandburg, we're creating a community garden. It's called the Spartan Garden. We had over 100 volunteers from the community come out and build 24 very large planter boxes, and 100% of that was volunteer-driven and donated, not costing the district a dime. And so we're excited about that project because not only there's going to be great learning happening for not only the Sandburg Spartans, but all students through our nonprofit, but in addition to that, we're going to be able to provide our students in GUSD with homegrown, actually I should say student-grown organic fruits and vegetables in the near months. And so there will be several opportunities for the community at large to get involved, especially in the springtime. We're going to have a day where we're going to plant an orchard, and then another day probably in April where students will have an opportunity a few months in advance to grow a vegetable at their home. And then one day, all students that want to participate, community members want to participate, are going to bring their plants that they grew at home, and we're going to transplant them into the Spartan Garden. So we'll fill up all 27 planter boxes. So just two great examples of the generosity of our community and the heart of Glendora. And so thank you for the time.
Thank you, Mr. Osborne.
I have a quick question or maybe a comment. You had mentioned that if there are any students or families in need that they would contact you directly. Would that be through email? Could we put a button on the homepage of the website or do a social media post or something so that anybody that might need the resource, especially at any time, can find you easily? And then also, as we've seen, you've mentioned, and we saw tonight with the presentation of the check from the Glendora Education Foundation through our community, I suspect that there are other community members that would like to be on the donating side or the resource side of any of these programs that you mentioned. So would they also get in touch with you?
Yes, absolutely. So the best way is just to email me or to give me a call up at Ed Services here at the district and set up a meeting or talk on the phone. If it's for the garden, I'd also be a contact for that as well.
Any other comments? Thank you, Mr. Osborne.
Thank you so much. And thank you, Board, for giving me the time. Thank you, and happy holidays, everyone.
Thank you. Okay, now we're to discussion action items. Our first one is to approve additional funds for finalization of settlement agreement for student I-1A. May I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, that was moved by Mr. Ellison, seconded by Dr. Fernando. Do we need to have no discussion? Okay, we don't have to have a presentation on this. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, passed unanimously. Then let's see, I skipped one. Yeah, approve the settlement agreement for student C20. Need a motion, please?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, moved by Dr. Fernando, seconded by Mr. Ellison. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Motion passed unanimously. So 16.3, approve, ratify the Educator Effectiveness Plan Executive Summary, second reading as presented. May I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, moved by Ms. Borg, second by Dr. Fernando. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Do we want to have any discussion on it?
Do we need to have this is our second reading. Do we need to have one, right?
This is what I was talking about in my comments, about the professional development.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so do we need to have a discussion? We're all good?
No.
Okay, so everybody, that passed unanimously?
Aye.
Okay. Then, let's see, 16.4, approve the MOU with Give Something Back California chapter. May I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, moved by Mrs. Reuter, seconded by Ms. Borg. Now do we have to have
Discussion.
Dr. Kelson, is this you?
Good evening. Thank you very much, trustees, Dr. DeLeon, cabinet colleagues, and esteemed community. The partnership with Give Something Back is one that might literally change the post-secondary educational pathway for local children. In brief, this is a local nonprofit that has had a very successful track record in a couple of other counties. The partnership with Glendora Unified will be the first in Los Angeles County in any school district. There are a number of wonderful people who have been a part of planning this. Before I mention them briefly, let me simply say that initially the project will look at ways to help students at both of our high schools and potentially our middle schools as well, explore some various career opportunities available to them during the school day. You may know that currently nationally there are about 3% of students in the foster care system across the country who complete any sort of bachelor's degree. Students participating in the Give Something Back program complete a bachelor's degree or a 2-year or trade certificate at a 90% success rate. So once we get the career exploration related aspect of this partnership established, then our local Glendora students will have the opportunity to compete for a 4-year full ride scholarship at a number of partnering universities. So thank you for considering it. I'm thankful to our partners in business services for helping review and develop this agreement. And once the first phase, the planning phase, is completed this spring, then our team will likely be back in touch to present the full 2-year proposed plan.
Other questions, Ms. Borg?
Yes. What's the financial implication to the district on this plan?
$0. We are using some career tech education incentive grant funds to provide the planning or seed money and anticipate being able to fund the rest of the projects using those special state funds earmarked for career development of students.
And can a student receive the help and know that they could apply for this college grant for 2 to 4 years down the road, or 6
Absolutely,
yes.
yes.
Years down the road?
Absolutely, yes. They, the organization seeks to include students from all post-secondary walks of life, and they begin talking with students about their interest as early as the 6th grade. Of course, guardians and everyone involved is well aware of the conversations as they happen as well, but our students will, I think, quickly win over the hearts and minds of the funders who come out and meet with them, and in the very near future, I would anticipate we'll have students before us who are receiving those 4-year full ride scholarships.
Thank you.
Yes.
Any other comments or questions?
I don't remember if I read this or if it came in a conversation somewhere. How did we come together with this group? How did we find this group, or how did this group find us?
Well, thank you for asking about maybe 5 or 7 school years ago, I encountered somebody who was volunteering to partner with Give Something Back as part of another related project. And quickly learned about how their program is helping kids beat the odds. So kept in touch with them, saw to it in my previous school district that a number of students were connected to those 4-year full ride scholarships. Over the weekend of Thanksgiving break, a few of our team members attended their annual scholarship banquet, where we not only learned about how well the students who are participating are doing from their own telling, but we also learned that they were ready to branch out into Los Angeles County. Between our conversation in November and 5 years ago, Ms. Vakar had, as I understand it, also developed a partnership with this organization and her previous employer.
Isn't it?
So.
Wonderful.
Okay. The 4-year full ride, does that include housing? Is that what full ride means?
It can, in fact, mean that for students who attend the 4-year partnership programs. A number of local community colleges are also looking at housing models for what they call independent scholars. And I'm grateful to our early work with Citrus College. Mr. Osborne, a number of community organizations are working on to help further that aspect of the program, too.
Okay. Also, is it just the unhoused and foster? Is it like someone from a single parent? Is it just avid students? Is it limited?
They look to serve students with what are defined in the research as major barriers, potential barriers to attaining post-secondary training or education. In general, those are students who are in the foster system, unhoused or housing insecure, as you mentioned, students with either an incarcerated or a parent who is addicted. A lot of times there is a nexus to those somewhere in those life realities, if you will. The program as it exists in the other counties near us actually works fairly closely with the Department of Children and Family Services, slightly different name in the other counties, to help identify students who are in greatest need, which is, as I understand it, a commitment of the organization and its board.
Thank you. Okay. I can't even remember who.
You do a vote now.
I know. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, passed unanimously. Thank you.
And the Career Tech Incentive Grant is a grant that we get by applying through the San Gabriel Valley ROP with Walnut Valley Unified, West Covina Unified, Baldwin Park Unified,
San Gabriel Unified.
and San Gabriel Unified. Yeah. Charter Oak and Azusa applied separately, but that's a grant that we get a lot of money every year from that ROP applies for, and we're included in that.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Approve the 2021-22 first interim report as presented.
So moved.
Thank you. Mrs. Vakar?
Mrs. Vikar and her wonderful Director of Fiscal Services, Ms. Jeanette Walsack.
Yay.
Well, it is so great to be able to bring to you our report this evening on our first interim report. And I just want to tell you that, since coming to Glendora Unified School District, getting to work with the entire business services team has been such a pleasure. But truly, Jeanette has a huge heart. And I just want you to know she works so diligently on our budgets and to provide the most detailed elements to ensure that we are doing the right things, spending our money the right way. And I just want to be, by starting off this presentation by just telling you, she is an amazing leader in fiscal services. So with that, we are going to start our presentation. So if you would go to the next slide, please. So as you know, there's reporting that happens with our fiscal. Is it not working, Kellen? There we go. Perfect. I think we need to put it in the presentation mode, right? Your cheat sheet. Maybe another thing I really want to say during our fiscal report.
We all have one.
There we go. Ta-da!
Voila.
Thank you. Perfect. So as you know, there's several different reportings that happen, with our fiscal services reports to you on an annual basis. The first, of course, being the adopted budget, coming up with the unaudited actuals and looking at how we closed out the books and how we move that forward. This presentation this evening is around the first interim report, which is really an important element because we really start looking at the adopted budget and whether or not we're actually on track and making any kind of adjustments that need to go along the way. Then coming up, you'll have you'll be receiving an audit report that will be coming up, looking at last year's books and how we closed out our audit, and then moving into the second interim report, and then the development cycle of our new budget will then also start for the 22-23 school year. Next slide. So during the first interim report, you're going to be looking at those results on projections. I'm going to turn it over to Jeanette at this point for her to really dig into the details.
Thank you, Mrs. Vacker, and good evening, esteemed board members, Dr. De Leon, and cabinet members and community members. Is the mic working? Okay. No, it's okay. Thank you.
It doesn't sound like it is.
Sorry. Hello, testing.
Okay. There you go.
Thank you. So for the first interim report, we're reporting on the actual financial results from July 1st through October 30th, and then the projection for the rest of the year, which is November through June. Part of our first interim report, we're updating, as Mrs. Vacar mentioned, the updated budget with the most current data available. This helps us determine the fiscal viability of the district, which we will be certifying. So throughout this budgeting process, we have to certify our financial statements twice, which is during the first interim and the second interim. So there's 3 certifications. Positive means we can pay our obligations, and then we have another certification, which is negative, and that means we're not, qualified, which means the district is not able to meet its obligations, and then we have a negative certification, which means, and we don't want to have that, which means we're not able to meet our financial obligations. Next slide, please. So on this interim report, some of the adjustments we did are adjusting the beginning fund balances and carryovers since we adopted the budget in June, so at that time our year has not yet closed. So during the unaudited actuals, we closed out the year, so therefore the fund balances change. So that's part of the adjustments that we have to make, as well as updating the carryovers. And then throughout the year, we get different allocations from CDE, and it changes. For example, Title I, the ESSERs, the COVID funding, they kind of fluctuate throughout the year. So during this first interim, we adjusted our Title I allocation as well as some of the COVID funding. One of the big adjustments that we included for this first interim is the salaries and benefits, and that is related to the 2% one-time off-schedule bonus. And the other portion, which was the on-schedule, was already included when we prepared the budget back in June. For the assumptions, for the ADA, we're using its status quo, which is 6,905, and that's from the 2018-2019 P2, and we still hold harmless. So we're going to have to make an adjustment, because we're looking, Tracy and I are working very diligently because for the next fiscal year 2022-23, we're looking at the higher of this 21-22 or 22-23. So it's definitely I would say that this year will probably be higher because we're anticipating a declining enrollment for the following year as well. We also updated our COVID revenues and expenditures, as I mentioned earlier. And then for COLA, we're using 5.07%, which includes this, we call it the super COLA, since we did not get the COLA from last year, which was at 3.37%. There's no change in the LCFF from the adopted budget. Next, we can take a look at our unrestricted general fund ending fund balance before the adjustment and after the adjustment. So prior to this adjustment, we had the adopted budget, our ending fund balance. Our projected income was $2.3 million. After all the adjustments were done for first interim, our projected income is 1.7, so we have a change or decrease in our income of $678,251. Next, we can talk about the unrestricted general fund balance, the components. So we have the 3% requirement, which is the reserve for economic uncertainties, and that's $2.5 million. We have the projected assigned reserve balance, and part of that assigned reserve balance, we have the textbook adoption of $2 million, and then we have the board required additional 3% reserve, which is another 2.5, and then we also have the school sites carryovers and donations of about 650,000, and then the restricted lottery of about $1 million. So our unrestricted general fund balance is $13.2 million at first interim. Next, we can talk next slide, please. Okay. Next, we can talk about the general fund revenues. This is unrestricted and restricted. Again, there was no adjustment related to our LCFF. For federal revenue, we have a change of $739,000 between the adopted budget and the first interim, and that's mostly related to the categorical programs like Title I. We recognize the carryover from the prior year and the current year allocation, and then we have the other state revenue, and that includes a lot the IPI, which is the in-person learning grant, as well as the ELO, which is the extended learning opportunity grant, which is all part of the COVID fund. And then lastly, the local revenue increased by 1.6. There's a couple of factors into that. One is the SELPA. We increase our SELPA revenue, the special ed, because now we're going to have to be paying for transportation. That's no longer going through the SELPA, and so that's an increase in that. But the offset is obviously not the transportation, but the NPS. But the offset of that would be increasing our expenses related to those NPSs. For the general fund expenditures, we adjusted the certificated and classified salaries along with the benefits, books and supplies, services and other operating expenses, capital outlay, and then some of the other outgo. And so for most of the school districts, 85% of our budget is basically for salaries and benefits, and a lot of that is paid for by the unrestricted fund, but we have the restricted fund, but depending on the person's responsibilities or whatnot. But for the most part, our largest restricted resource is the special ed fund. Next, please. So on this slide, I just want to illustrate the current year, 21-22, and the last 2 years components of ending fund balance, so we can see, where we were and where we're at now. So at the assigned, we can start off with the assigned fund balance. So we started out 2019-2020 of $4.1 million, and then beginning in 2021, it went up by roughly $2 million, and that's the additional 3% from the board reserve. Again, with 21-22, same thing. Unrestricted for 2021 and 22, it's a lot larger because of the COVID funding. Most of our funds, we have the various deadlines, and the last one expires September 30th, 2024. So that's part of the reason why you're seeing a larger restricted fund balance. And then we have the reserve for economic uncertainties for those for 2 years and current year, and then an appropriated fund balance. So general ending fund balance for the last, beginning with the 2019-20 is 12.1. The following year is 20.7 million, and then currently, after the first interim adjustment, is 22.6 million.
One thing that we've been working on, of course, is our multi-year projections, right? So we're looking all the way out to the end of 2024. And with that, really, we need to really pay very close attention to our ADA balance, our number of FTEs that are supporting our classrooms. Some of the good news, of course, we're still being held harmless right now. But as we start to look at the new governor's budget that comes out, we may not be held in the same way, right? So we might have to be able to start dealing with the fact that we actually have a lower ADA, and it's been lowering over several different years, right? So we've got several different cycles with that. So really what you're looking at here is some of the effects and cause effects that we look at in this multi-year. And make sure that we are trying to make those adjustments as we move along the way so that we are ready for 2024. And with that, we're working with our in-services team, with human resources, and most importantly, with our labor partners. They are fully aware of this, and we are working very closely with them to make sure that either funding that comes in from the state, and as we look at the resources that we have, our fast slides, we're doing that for our strategy sessions with them.
For the multi-year projection, again, we talked about the funded COLA earlier. So for this year, 5.07. For next year's 2.48, and then for the 23-24 year is 3.11. Unduplicated pupil count percentage has been about the same, from 31.5 to 32.3 is the projected for the next 2 years. And then we're just illustrating the LCFF dollars per ADA by grade span for each of the next couple of years. Next slide. For the multi-year projection as well, we could, in the last few years, we've had a tremendous amount of increase related to STRS and PERS. Of course, we have the inflation increases as well. So when we work on the MYP, we also include the step and column increases in salaries for all staff, certificated, classified, and management. And then as Mrs. Vicar mentioned earlier, we're definitely working diligently in regards to our enrollment and ADA, which we are most likely going to be adjusting during second interim. As required by Ed Code, we have to disclose our unassigned fund balances. So we're illustrating the 21-22, 22-23, and 23-24. What makes it up. So we have the state required 3% reserve for economic uncertainties, and then the projected assigned reserve balance, and then the reserves exceeding the minimum reserve for economic uncertainties. What are we using? Why do we have the unassigned balance, assigned balances? So what are we going to use it for? So the Glendora Unified School District Board of Education, we maintain a very prudent reserve, which provides for the future downturn in the economy, which could negatively affect the district's budget. We are also, in case any unplanned maintenance related to like HVAC or any other facilities needs, we want to make sure we have the funding available for that. And then of course we want to have the funds to help mitigate the cost of declining enrollment. And then lastly, for any other unplanned or emergency expenditures, and of course, or textbook adoption or any other anticipated expenditures related to instructional materials for the future. Next, we can take a look at the state budget outlook, which is looking pretty good. So based on the LAO, which is the Legislative Analyst Office, they're projecting a $20 billion more in Prop 98 funding. So that means they're increasing Prop 98 calculation for all the school districts. Another thing is their projected COLA is also increased. So as we mentioned earlier, for 22-23, we're looking at 2.48, and that's what we have on our MYP, and then 3.11 for the second subsequent year. However, the projection is for 22-23, a COLA of 5.35, and then for 23-24, a COLA of 3.5%. Again, this STIRS and PERS pension cost increases is not going away on the table. We're just illustrating the different rates for STIRS and PERS. So for STIRS, we basically went up from this year to next year of about 2.2%, and PERS is showing definitely a significant increase. So going from 22.9 to 26.1, or 3.2%, and then the next second subsequent year, another 1%. So these are some of the things that we need to definitely account for in our MYP. So for the district certification, like I mentioned earlier, we're certifying that the first interim report is positive, which means we can meet all of our financial obligations, and also our projected ending fund balance is above the 3% minimum required. Positive certification indicates the district will be able to meet its financial obligation for the current and the subsequent 2 fiscal years. What are the next steps? So the first interim report is due to LACO December 15th. So we have to submit that. That's next. And then the P1 report, which is our enrollment on ADA, that's due in January. And for that, we're looking at August through December's enrollment and ADA data. And then come January, the governor's releasing his projected 22-23 state budget. So that way, when we do our second interim, we may have more information to include in our MYP. Because the second interim report is due March 15, and that's covering the period of July 1st through January 31st. And then lastly, the P2, which is basically what we're funded on, is P2, and that report is due in April. That wraps up our first interim presentation, and we're opening it up for questions.
Thank you very much. Any questions? Any comments, Mrs. Reuter?
Did I remember somewhere along the line, maybe this is wishful thinking, that eventually STIRS and PERS like maxes out at a percentage? Like we were ramping up to something.
I was going to ask the same question.
I sort of remembered that there was, really, there's no...
But there is legislation coming right now, in fact, to use some of the budget surplus from the state of California, because we did very well during COVID economically as a state, to offset STIRS and PERS. So that's supposed to go into that, is what I read in the analyst report.
It is a piece.
I thought that there was like a plateau. There was a projected plateau point. No.
It showed that STIRS was 19.1 and then 19.1 again.
Right.
So no change for those two years.
Right. I could have sworn that somewhere along the line, actually, there is no max.
It's probably like 35% or something.
It was, no, what I remember seeing was that it was tied to a year. Like there was a point that we were going to get to.
Yeah.
Okay, and then, sorry, so we think that next year we're going to have to do the full ADA adjustment.
So the answer is yes and maybe.
Because we could either use the highest of this year or, so they are giving us a step down, essentially.
Yes, and there's also some introduction that we may hear in the governor's budget because the revenues were so high in the state that there may be another step down to help us as another interim measure. That is yet to be announced.
What does that look like?
I don't know yet.
Okay.
That's what we're going to find out in the governor's budget as to what that might look like. The other thing I think that we need to start thinking about is, we're looking at the reading program that's looking to come in 2025. The effect that might actually have on class size, the number of people that we'll have to bring in, the fact that we'll be bringing a lot more younger age students into our school district that we haven't had before. So there's also an element too that we've got to be able to put into our multiple year projection. Start looking at programming and how we offer those services to our community to ensure that those services are there and that we've got the right educational staff to be able to.
Talking about like this universal pre-K?
Yeah. So we will be getting universal pre-K and universal TK, which in its effect will bring students back to our district. And so this is a really big, this step down is a really big issue at the state with education because 60% of school districts are in declining enrollment. This is not just a Glendora Unified, this is 60%. 30% are maintaining, and 10% are in increasing enrollment, okay? So this is huge, so they know that they need to do something for 60% of their school districts. And what they're telling us is that they believe, the fiscal analysts have said that they believe we go back up again starting in about 2025, and part of that will be a result of universal preschool and universal TK. So we'll be those students will be in our district and become part of our district earlier with the hopes that they will be staying in our district from that moment on. So
that universal preschool and TK starts in 2025? Or can it start before that?
It can.
Right, and I just can't remember, is it 2025?
You can. We already take, we literally already take any child that wants to be in TK. I think we've been sort of doing that for a while now, so.
Within the 3 months?
We anticipate more, so just like where you saw
as we couldn't fill our classrooms
that we receive for funding, we're actually expecting an increase for those lower beginning grade levels to be able to keep class size very small in order to be able to help support the reading initiative.
And do we have the appropriate facilities for this?
Well, that's a good question.
So we are in the process of doing, it's a great question, we're in the process of doing a facility analysis.
Yeah.
Looking at our facilities, looking at our brick and mortar classrooms that we actually have, and making sure that we're doing an analysis of our portables and the condition that our portables are in to make sure that they are conducive to be able to support a learning environment for our students.
Any other comments? Questions?
I have somewhat of a request. So how long have we been in declining enrollment now? 2013?
Well, I can actually answer that. So we were in declining enrollment for many years. Then we got a 3-year bump with district of choice. That plateaued out, and then we've been back in declining enrollment again, I think since 15, about 2015.
Is there a way to kind of extract district of choice and see our resident student population declining enrollment for the past 10 plus years?
We can certainly extract our district of choice students because we do have that data available. So, and then if we just extract that, I'm just talking out loud, if we extract that from our total population, then we should be able to say, okay, this is district of choice and this is our resident population. Yeah. So I'll definitely make a note of that.
Okay. Thank you.
So assuming that district of choice students are reducing.
Well, we started,
out some districts
Azusa's out of the program, Charter Oak's out of the program, so there's.
So if you
Stop
look,
bringing in
at the
students.
census data for Glendora and specifically within our district, there's significant decline in birth rate within the city of Glendora. And so that's going to keep going until we can start to bring those kids back to our district as littles. So we're excited about pre-K and TK. It's going to be a lot of work, but we're happy to do it, aren't we, Ms. McCarr? Yes, we are.
Very happy to do. We spent a lot of time collaborating, playing around with those numbers, and looking at what that looks like for the future of Glendora.
Dr. Fernando, do you have any questions or comments?
I'm just recovering from the $20 billion more in prop funding.
It's kind of exciting.
So I mean, is this so this interim report, and pardon me for being so baseline here, is this an sort of inflated reality because of COVID funding and because of the fact that we've been held harmless? Okay.
A little bit, yep.
Yeah. So I think we need to explain that to the public, that we are living in kind of a borrowed time because we've been held harmless and because of the COVID funding that we've had that we typically wouldn't have had in any other fashion.
And it's all one-time funding.
It's all one-time funding, yeah. So this.
We have to be, as the staff, we've been very diligent in making sure that the funding is not used for ongoing expenses.
Yes. So I think it needs to be made clear about, salaries,
Yes.
or facilities, those kinds of things. I think there could be a misconception that, we may not need a bond because we have this influx of cash,
It truly is one-time
So,
money
yeah.
that's meant to be spent to be able to help. We'll be back to online.
Yeah, sure.
Back again, we've lost students along the way, more students than what we originally projected. So those projections are very, very important for us to keep our pulse on that. In our HR division have been working diligently with partners with business services to ensure that we are communicating well together. We look at every as part of a new position control. And that was with Dr. Daniel. That we develop a system that we can actually go on. Sure that we've got the right people, the right numbers.
Ms. Borg?
The end of the century and the beginning of this century, I was taking admin courses and I had to take a finance class to get the credential and worked with a business office for 25 years and still learning today. I'm telling you, budgeting is no easy thing, and you can take courses and work with them on a daily basis and still, between the codes and the alphabet soup, because ADA, I can probably see why we cleared the room, because they don't understand all the terms and everything. And I just want to thank you, because I am not a math person, I'll admit it. I'm so grateful for that you understand all of this, and I understand basic, enough to figure it out, but thank you for all of the minute and line item things and everything that goes into running a budget of a multi-million-dollar business like this, and keeping us in the black. Is that what I want to say?
Yeah.
Not in the red?
Yeah, that's what I was saying. Oh, yes. We must be, we want to be certified positive.
And I know you will keep us there, but if you don't, somebody else will. So thank you.
True.
Thank you.
The other thing I think you'll see probably in our second interim when we come back is you're going to see more of an adjustment as we start using up our restricted funds. We want to use up restricted funds first, right? We don't want to go off and give money back to anyone. We want to make sure we make those shifts. So you're going to see some of those shifts in our next budget report that we Or to earmark exactly how we can spend that underneath the rules and guidance that we've been receiving.
Thank you.
I have a couple of things. It just occurred to me, so the paper company that we were talking about earlier, that's one-time funds, will we be able to continue that after we don't have ESSER funds anymore?
So that's a good question. So it's meant to be able to help support learning loss right now. I think we don't really know what that future holds as far as, how significant that learning loss is. Continue to help mitigate that gap that would happen in learning. So obviously those are things that we're looking at. It might be beneficial if that's a service that is valuable to our parents and to our students. We will be looking at those numbers as to how frequently it's used. Classroom, to be able to look at that data. So that's important to make sure that we're using the services to its fullest. Let that service go in lieu of something else that might be.
Also, what is our ADA right now? I mean, the percentage of attendance, like 97, are we still up in that range?
So that's going to be calculated when we do the P1, but our enrollment right now, we are at 66.
I'm sorry, I mean attendance daily. Our daily attendance.
Our daily attendance, we're anywhere from we're still at about 96, 97%.
That's still pretty good.
That's helpful.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
Mrs. Merkley?
Yes.
Just one question on asked this before, but I always forget the answer. So this current school year is
21. Our actual ADA from 2018, 2019 is what we're funded on 18-19 because we're always being funded either the higher of the prior year or the current year. So our actual ADA from 18-19 is what we are being funded on.
So that's not. It's three school years.
That is correct.
That's why there's that cliff.
And next year is the 22-23 school year.
Yes.
And unless they do something, we'll be funded based on this current school year.
Yes.
Which is a 3 years of declining enrollment, all packed into one.
And so how many students have we lost in the last 3 years?
It averages 100 a year, doesn't it?
About 100, so.
A little over that. Some years have been over that.
Yeah,
I bet we're pushing 500 for 3 years.
About two.
That's a lot of money. That's a cliff. Hence the term the cliff. It's a cliff.
Right, and we're not the only school district that's in that scenario, but it most definitely will have a significant impact.
That only 10% of school districts are actually increasing their enrollment. Even at delegate assembly, they keep eliminating seats because they don't have delegates to be reflective of the amount of students in the state, and that's shrinking. But it's at least it's a priority for organizations that have influence in Sacramento.
Just going to say they've all moved to Texas because my cousin graduated, 40-some odd years ago from this little town called Nevada. And there were like 70-something her graduating class. This year they got 600 new students. Yeah. I think they all moved from California to Texas. No, or maybe Utah. Anyway, thank you so much. We really do appreciate it. It was very clear and very good.
I just want to extend my appreciation again to Ms. Walczak. She's just been absolutely amazing to be able to work with, and you can tell how hard she works. I love collaborating with her. We have a lot of fun, I think, in being able to sit there and problem solve and think things out, and how can we, shift the monies for the best service for our students. So thank you.
I think the board wholeheartedly agrees with your thanks of Ms. Walczak, for sure.
So we do need a vote.
Yes, we've had a motion and a second. So all in favor, say aye. Aye. Motion passed unanimously. Yay. Okay, general functions consent item. The Board of Education may consider agenda consent items as a whole or as individual divisions. Any item may be removed by a member of the board for discussion.
I have no idea where
Mrs. Reuter?
I make a motion that we approve, a blanket motion to approve all, but I would like to pull out business services item 20.2.
Okay, may I have a second?
Second.
All in favor to, move.
Yep. Yep.
I was going to say, moved by Mrs. Reuter, seconded by Dr. Rickson. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Okay, now the
20.2.
Okay. Who is it? Dr. DeLeon? Which
So
one's that?
do you want to move and second and then discuss?
Yeah. I move to approve item 20.2.
I second it.
Okay, Mrs. Reuter moved, Ms. Borg seconded, and so Mrs. Vicar.
Thank you. Before you this evening is a item that you saw last spring on Hanover services. The idea of Hanover is to provide research to the district on areas that we want to be able to do a deeper dive on. In this case, we would be looking at a comparison report of other type districts similar to ours, and also districts that might not be similar to ours, so that we could look at better ways for student achievement. Within that organization, we also have access to a number of studies that will help us as we start navigating and looking at our goals that have been given by the board, and start working on directions for student improvement services, and give us that ability to be able to actually use research that's related directly to the services that we would like to be able to offer and provide here in Glendora. It's a very affordable way to go about getting the research done. It is a nationally recognized, known organization. The reason it's before you this evening is that we didn't use the services immediately, and we asked to be able to delay the services and bring it back, so before you was just a change in timeline.
Are there any questions or comments? Okay, all in favor say aye. Aye. Okay, it's unanimous. It passed. Okay, I'm hoping we get to the adjournment.
I second it.
Okay, Mr. Ellison moved that we adjourn. Ms. Borg seconded. All in favor? Aye. Motion passed. We adjourn at 9:08.
Please don't leave. You have a signature folder before you that needs lots of signatures.